Okay, so on to co-working, and we have a real great panel of experts, people who are really in the field, offering new services, developing new things, and gaining new knowledge and insight from it. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to come up and make a short presentation, then join me on stage. So gradually, this table will fill up with experts over the next 10 or 15 minutes. And then we're going to have a round table discussion and get a lot of input from the floor. So to kick us off and give us our kind of co-working keynote, if you like, I'd like to welcome Julia Penfold. Julia is the Portfolio Solutions Director at Regis, and she brings extensive experience in strategic real estate. Julia joined Regis this year after spending 5 years as head of real estate strategy at Goldman Sachs. And prior to that, Julia spent 11 years at Tesco, involved in real estate and business development across Europe and Asia. So please welcome Julia Penfold.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I was very pleased there was a lunch break between the last speaker and my session, because I thought he was tremendous. So anyway, going on to co-working is for corporates. In terms of the things I just wanted to talk about today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the world of work. I think we've been talking about it changing for a long time. I think maybe it finally is. How co-working is responding to that, and what do we think co-working actually is. Perhaps a little bit about what others are doing, what we're seeing from a Regis perspective, what our customers are looking to do, and equally as important, how we're having to change to meet those needs. And then right at the end, maybe a little bit about what is next for corporates, what do we think they're going to be doing next, and what are some of the things that they should be thinking about. I've looked at this slide and it seems very repetitive. I've probably talked about these things, at least for the last 5 years. The past, we're going to have, we've had fixed locations, fixed costs, low utilization, low flexibility. Actually, what we really want, we want the right space, we want it to be flexible, we want it to be wherever you want it to be, we only want to pay for it when we use it, we want to reduce our property costs. Well, have we really done that, or have most of us done that? I'm not sure, and I do think that I've been involved in lots of roundtables and groups that have all said we want to do it. Finally, I think perhaps we are getting a bit of traction. Well, I hope we are anyway. So what are driving the changes? Again, nothing new here, but I think that there's a couple of things I just wanted to pull out. On the left, we have the real estate cost. I think the economy and what's been happening in the economy over the last few years has put a lot of focus on that. And I think that has actually, in a rather negative way, pushed the agenda of people moving to the more flexible approach and the co-working. People, demographics, we've heard a lot about that today. And finally, I think that, again, we are being forced into making changes. Expectations of digital natives are making us aware that the type of space that we currently have and where people want to work is changing quickly. I think technology is an interesting one because I actually quite liked it when I could only be contacted from 9 till 5 when I was sitting at my desk. And then all of a sudden, I've got my BlackBerry, my iPad, and everything else. And we are now switched on all the time. And I think people are suddenly beginning to realize that they actually need to find a way of making some time for themselves whilst they're switched on. And perhaps the more flexible way of working and using co-working to their benefit can actually help them do that. And I think that's finally beginning to come through to people. And then transport, and again, commute times, we've talked about that. But I think there's more to transport. It's actually about where your meetings are, where your customers are, and how long it actually takes you to get to them if you're based in a fixed location. So I think people are really starting to see how they can be more productive by working in different locations and being close to their customers. We did a survey back in 2011, and the size of the bubbles are reflecting the importance of some of the things. I was actually quite interested to see the customer service assistant being a large bubble. I can only think they must be very good at Regis, as being very important for what mobile workers want. But I think the other things are no surprise. Access to electrical power. I thought, what does that mean? But of course it means, you can plug something in. printing, business class internet, privacy, office equipment, security, a proper work surface. All of these things, the most important things, you don't actually get in coffee shops. You don't actually get in your car. So we're actually being forced to think about how do we provide these sort of facilities for the mobile worker, and how does co-working begin to appeal to a much broader spectrum of our organisation. I thought quite hard about what co-working was, and I, rightly or wrongly, I've come to a bit of a conclusion that it's basically anywhere that people can work and want to work in a mobile way. I think in the past, perhaps people have seen it as being very much associated with startups, with dot-coms, being a bit of a too trendy place that maybe doesn't fit our organisation and our culture. And historically, there are only a limited number of locations and where people could actually work in that way. But I think today, really, we're moving towards it being a global network, locations all over the world, wherever you want your people to be able to work and wherever your people want to work. High-quality business environments with the right facilities. And also, I think, as importantly, a really wide variety of workplace types. Again, we talked today, we don't always want to be an open plan. Sometimes we need some privacy. Sometimes we need a place to have some quiet time. So it needs to have that variety of space available. I'm just going to show you a short video here of a business centre that we've opened recently at Amersfoort Station in the Netherlands. We are opening a number across the Dutch railway network. And the Dutch railway, they're actually investing in these jointly with us because they're seeing it as a big benefit for the users of their railway network. So people are meeting on the way to their office, or they're dropping in to do emails, etc. I'm just hoping I remember how to work the video.
You're on the move, but work's on your mind. Things to do, documents to read. If only you could sit down, pause, collect your thoughts just for a moment. It's the way so many of us work nowadays. There's no time to waste, and now there's no reason to waste time. Regis is in most of those places you're likely to pass through. City centres, train stations, motorway service stations. We know the pressures you're under. Call in, tell one of our representatives what you want. We'll give you the help you need. We've got business lounges, desks with secure Wi-Fi, the latest VC technologies, as well as space you can hire by the minute, hour, or day. Whatever it is, you need to get the job done. Regis can help. You're on the move, but you've got work to do, and Regis is there to help. We're with you wherever you're going.
I'm not sure about hiring our space by the minute. I think maybe our marketing team got a bit carried away, and I promise we won't stalk you and follow you everywhere that you go. Just now, I wanted just to look at a couple of case studies. The first one I know quite a few people in the room have probably heard about, but I thought it was worth touching on. We did some work with Yale, probably 18 months, 2 years ago now, looking at their sales population. Their driver was very much a need to reduce their real estate cost in the UK. And based on that, they very quickly realised that by moving the majority of their sales staff, 700 of them, to a mobile type model using the co-working space that we have across the network, they could close 19 of their 20 fixed offices. They saved about £3.5 million per annum in savings, which was, I think, was about double what they'd anticipated saving. But I think a big benefit that they weren't expecting was they also got about a 14% increase in productivity by their sales teams actually being able to spend time near their customers and not losing time travelling from their fixed locations. So I think that was an interesting byproduct that they hadn't actually appreciated. The second case study I wanted to share with you, again, is actually about a Dutch company, UPC, who are a cable company, have about 2 million customers, I think over a third of the customers in the Netherlands. They have a program called WOW, which is looking at increasing their customer satisfaction and how they can do that. And I think they were pretty enlightened here that they actually realised that one thing they could do was actually to increase their employee job satisfaction. And that was a very key pillar in their overall project. And one of the things that we're doing is we're working with them on a trial, and this is for their front and back office, so it's not about the salespeople or what you would traditionally think as mobile people, but a trial for a mixture of workers to use all the locations, all the Regis locations, and take control of when they work, what they do, and where they do it into their own control, and make some decisions about the best place for them to work. And at the moment, it's proving, very, very positive. And you'll see a quote there that would say, "Flexible and mobile working is for everybody, not for sales teams." So I think that starts to disperse the myth, perhaps, that there's only one particular type of worker that this might work for. I'm not going to go through all of these benefits in detail. We've talked about the cost reduction, the location, the environment. One thing I just wanted to mention, we were actually at a meeting earlier this week with a large real estate broker, and we were talking about where the next meeting should be. And he actually said, "Oh, can we have the meeting at the Regis office?" And I said, "Yeah, that's absolutely no problem." But I didn't really understand why, because I'd assumed it would be better for him to actually have the meeting at his office. So I said, "Well, why is that?" "Oh," he said, "I get so much more done when I come and work at the Regis Lounge." He said, "I'm not interrupted by my colleagues, so every now and again I like to come and work there. I'll spend the day there, I'll have the meeting with you for the hour, and then the rest of the time I will work in the Regis Lounge." He said, "I am much more productive doing that." And I just thought that was actually a real-life example of one of the benefits. So we're seeing a little bit that the corporates and the occupiers are changing. And we've seen the video on Amersfoort. And then I just wanted to share with you some of the other things that we're looking at. First of all, community centres. This is Lauren, again, a Dutch suburban location, fairly wealthy location, but a place where a lot of businessmen are, and perhaps people that want to use these sorts of community space, co-working space, perhaps on a Friday if they don't want to travel, or when they need to be near their homes. I sort of had an example where you want to go and watch your children's school play. Actually, you don't have to go into the office and say, "Oh, it's 3 o'clock now, I've got to go." You can actually work in your local centre near the school, go out, watch the play, and you lose absolutely no time, no production time at all. You can see these are quite trendy style of fit out, suits the location. There's a library, there's a cafe, a restaurant, and I think that we sell Mark Dixon's wine as well, so it was a good outlet for that. Another example of what we're doing, roadside. This is a photograph of a business lounge in partnership with Shell. We're looking at a trial in France and Germany in motorway service stations. Shell are very keen on investing in these locations. They're seeing a significant increase in spend both on petrol and in their shops, and obviously it adds to our network for co-working space for members of Regis. We're also trialling 3 locations in the UK with a motorway service operator. And then a couple of things that are conceptual. You can say, I'm not sure if these are going to work, but we haven't actually put any of these in yet, and we're still in development stage. But to show the sorts of things that we're thinking about and the sorts of locations that we're looking at making co-working space and flexible space available. An example here of something in an airport, and we're also looking at shopping malls. So I think there's lots of things going on within the Regis world that will increase the network. We've currently got about 1,500 locations across the globe, and we're looking to double that in the next 5 years. So just to finish then, I thought it was worth sharing a little bit about what we're hearing from our corporate customers and what we're just starting to see happening. I think probably, I could well be wrong on this, the fixed headquarters will continue to exist for most of us. There's a need to an extent to have a cultural identity, to have a place that people do feel that they belong, even if it's not where they normally work. And then as we move out from that centre, I think that the green element here is really the co-working space, the flexible space. About a third of our time, maybe about a third of our people, eventually will be occupying that space. And it's important that it meets lots of different needs in lots of different locations. And I think people are seeing that if they can actually get the balance right between the different types of these locations, then they do get some great outcomes in terms of their portfolio, their employee satisfaction, and very important, the operating costs of their real estate. Thank you.